Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
From the Fifth Quarter Studio in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to High School Hoops with your hosts, Steve Collins and Jake Stager.
All right, welcome to High School Hoops. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great, actually. Life is good.
Awesome. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Dr. Dish, the #1 shooting machine on the market, bar none. I'm going to tell you a story, Coach. Our machine, one of our machines, the buttons weren't working. It was weird. It wasn't the new CT. It was the generation right before. So I was like, oh, crud, blah, blah, blah. So I call, like literally. Now, they did this before they were sponsors, but got on a call. It was like something they had to reset, and we thought we were going to need a whole new like memory board or something. It was like, nope, ding, 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 and now it works perfectly. So the customer service is awesome. They've always been like that. I remember when we had the first machine, and I was on the phone in there, and they were walking me through. Anyway. Great. Mentioned High School Hoops and mention us, either Jake or myself, and get $450 off. And then go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. The one-stop shop, which is going to lean into what we're talking about, because I remember when you took your first job and you became a Teach Hoops member that first time, and it's
funny that we front load a lot of these. We front load these. Podcast, and Steve,
we batch them. We do two or three at a time because we're both really busy.
Ball in my court to pick the topics, and this was his topic of choice because he wanted to pick my brain.
I did. Let's explain. Whoa! I'm cutting you off on this. Explain what's happened so people know the kind of the journey here for you.
So here's the journey. So I took about 6 years off, from coaching, completely. To be more of a dad and so forth, and to find the right fit. Now, this summer, I found the right fit in regards to coaching.
Was it 6 years? What about the assistant year? You don't count those?
Yeah. So hold on. Let me think here. So my last year coaching was 2019. So we're at, 4 years out of high school basketball.
Right.
And I didn't know if I was going to get back into it, and it was about finding the right fit, right community. And at this point, we're back in the game, and I found that fit, and we talk about coaches taking jobs. And I think the first thing before we start talking about that journey of getting back into coaching and being a head coach again, and all those decisions that I have to make, is making sure that you make the right fit. And I will tell you right now, the last 4 weeks, I know that I made the right fit because I took the time to make sure I have the right job. I'm very excited. I'm super happy with my position. And I think there's a lot of things that could be considered when you pick that head job. But it's a lot. I forget how much work it is.
It's a lot. So first of all, I think a lot of people are just looking for the head job, and sometimes you have to be patient for the right door to open.
Yeah, and you got to be able to know that you're going to have the right people around you that you can do that. And sometimes you might move into a community, and I've kind of put my roots where I live now, and I've gotten familiar with other people in the basketball community that I can connect my program to, or even do things within my youth program and things like that. So this was like the perfect fit for me. Sometimes people up and leave and they try to do something and they don't have any connection. It becomes harder and harder and harder, and so it's okay to be a little choosy. Also, I think it's one big thing too, is being a new head coach is making sure you take the proper steps to get there. It's so great being that varsity coach. Yeah. Well, you don't know the reputation, or you don't know the reputation of the program. You got to make sure that it's the right fit for you. And the right job.
Yeah. So we were talking before we came on air. I asked you about hiring your staff and all those things. So I think when you do take these jobs, That's important because I've talked to enough coaches over the summer that are taking jobs, and sometimes they have to take an assistant, or they have no idea. They just moved to the community. They have no idea who to hire. So some of those things, it's because it's important. Like, you're hiring the people that are going to make the train work.
Yeah.
And, I think that's a very important part of the process. What's the hardest part about being ahead, taking off, and becoming ahead again? What was the hardest part of the transition?
I think it's actually easier. I will tell you, from a standpoint of being so young at 26, taking my job, and now being 37. And I will tell you, and I will tell listeners, being a new head coach, is that I have done a better job since that time developing a core group of mentors for myself to develop my craft. And I would think as a younger coach bringing on a program, if you don't have that mentorship, you need it. I'm not putting a plug for Teach Hoops, but I am a little bit.
You can.
I am. But I mean, Steve is obviously a great mentor to me, but through that process, I was able to acquire other great coaches as mentors. I'm very blessed to say that I have a lot of great friends that I meet up for, coffee, and we talk hoops, or I call basketball friends, and, and I do that more often because I realize the power of communicating and working with other people that are not even part of your program. I think that would be the one thing that has made it so much easier. And I also think that, I think the easier thing is just that sense of clarity. When you first start, it's so muddled, right?
That's why before we came on, I was laughing at him. I go, "You forgot, didn't you?" He starts like, "Oh," but there's a lot of moving pieces when you're the head of a high school program. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot. Like, we're jumping on here, and in 40 minutes, I got to go run to my youth board meeting. There's a lot of moving pieces that people forget about when you're not like, shoot, I see the people that some of my friends I'm old enough, some of my friends have retired, and they have forgotten what it's like to be a teacher every day and to be in the grind and go to the PD professional development days and to sit through the faculty. I mean, they forgot because they're retired now. And they have other things.
But I also think when you start to learn, you develop mentorship, you start to think about what's really important. You start to say, you could watch 100 DVDs, you could do all this. And that's where I first started. I felt like I had to have all this knowledge. And what I should have done is kind of took what I knew that I was comfortable with and try to build around the players that I had and do a better job getting to know my players.
Right.
And that's where the approach is now going for me. And I've watched a lot of film of last year's team, that some of the players that I'm going to be coaching this year, and just understanding them and watching the teams in the conference play, and you just focus on what we're good at, what's our strengths and weaknesses, what we can do, and focus more on the team. And oh my God, I got to know this zone, that zone. Oh, that out of bounds play looks really pretty. This one looks great. Ooh, that defensive drill looks good. This. And it's like, I could probably just spend 30 minutes of shell drill every day and be okay. Yeah. I mean, sometimes we overcomplicate things, and that I think that'll be a discussion, because I'm going to go back to doing a lot more shell drill this year. I just think it's something that I would like to get back into. I think it really does a good job of teaching defense in a quick way.
We'll talk about that when we get off, because I got some different ways of doing that. I just kind of learned.
But we'll definitely talk about it. I think it would be definitely a podcast.
Yeah, we can talk about the shell and some stuff if we can do that. But the thing with being a head coach is you kind of have to know everything, like how to run a zone offense, but the problem is what you know and what they know is two different things, and they need to know initially the foundation and the basis of it. And I think what happens is, especially with some of the coaches that I've been mentoring, is they want to do everything. It's like, well, we can do this, and then they're like the dog in the movie Up, where it's like squirrel, like new flashy thing. You can't be like that. You gotta, as a coach, you're always learning. I'm still learning. It's year 37, year 38, and I feel like maybe I know less than I did in my 20s because I'm smarter now that I didn't know as much then. But I'm always learning. I'm always doing stuff. I'm not gonna share what we're gonna do offensively on the air now. But
I won't.
But I'll tell you off the air what I'm gonna do.
Again, you just don't know who's listening. So I'm trying to keep my some of my things on. But I will tell you that for some people that have maybe started out and taken a break, I feel like the transition back is a lot easier because you know a lot. And it's like a rejuvenating, a recharge of excitement. And it's a really exciting time in my life. I don't think I'm exhausted. I think I'm exhausted because I'm so darn excited.
Right.
And
it's a clarity. You said
if you
earlier.
feel that way, then you made the right choice, in my opinion, right? If I feel like tired. I'm going to work every day and being tired and not enjoying it, then I made the wrong decision.
It's a good tired. It's a good tired.
Yes.
It's a good tired.
So my tired is a happy tired. And it's been really cool, especially to see my daughter be involved with it. And, that's we always talk about you and Drew and that experience. And now be able to have my daughter be part of that is really cool. It's such a neat experience.
It will be fun. It will be life-changing. So you did say there was more clarity. You did say it was easier, but I'm going to circle back to the initial question. You're 37 and you ain't 26. I'm 56. I ain't 26 anymore. I'm just saying I get I just can't do what I used to. I used to jump on the court with them. So what do you think is harder now in those 11 years?
Are you a financial advisor considering the Independent Registered Investment Advisor or RIA model and wondering where to start? Start with Schwab Advisor Services. Schwab has helped thousands evaluate the full range of options and can help you determine your best path forward. Navigate the big and small decisions by tapping into Schwab's decades worth of insights on what fuels RIA success. With Schwab Advisor Services, you have a custodian that will support you every step of the way. Start your journey today at advisorservices.schwab.com/paths.
I would think it's harder now because I have more responsibility in my personal life with having 2 children and a wife, and being a dedicated educator and knowing that my students are so important to me. My wife is important to me. My children are important to me, and the love of basketball and my team, my program is to me, but is to try to find that healthy balance because all those things have to be in sync to make it work for you. Because if you're not working and you're not in sync, then your program's not in sync. Now, I'm learning it, and that's the whole point of summer, but I think that will be the key is having a healthy balance of making sure, that I have that separation and I make time for my kids and my wife and all those things. I think that's the more responsibility because I'm not just thinking for me and my wife, I'm thinking for my 2 children and everything else. I think that is too. And I think another thing is too now what's different, I would say more than ever, is that everybody is so spread out so quick. I mean, so much. I feel like everybody's playing 12 months out of the year in different sports and this and that. And it's hard to get people's schedules together. So I would even think more than ever, even a 5-6 year period, it's getting younger ages. Even in younger ages, it seems like kids are getting stretched out more and more and more of this sport team wants you 9 months, 12 months out of the year. This sport wants you 9, 12. Everybody's pulling you from different directions. I think that's one of the challenging things too, Right. And so that makes it difficult too.
I think this summer's good. And then you take a little bit of a break because probably some of the girls play volleyball or run cross country or do things. What I think is going to be the hardest part for you personally, and I've never taken off like that. I started coaching when I was 21. So I'm a little freaked out about when I do stop coaching. But I've got this and I've got other things I can do that I think can fill some of those gaps. But I think the hardest part for you is going to be, I think you quickly forget. It's kind of like giving birth. You forget that November to March is crazy land. And you teach all day and then you go to practice or then you go and home and come and then you get the kids to bed and then you go scout. I mean, when I really noticed it was COVID when we didn't coach for a year. It was like, holy crud, do I do a lot from November to March? Because I wasn't doing anything because we were virtual teaching and I wasn't coaching. So I think that is I believe, and this is for me, for all the listeners out there, I'm forecasting that's what's going to hit you like a brick wall. Like, because your kids are still doing stuff and your wife's still wanting to go out to dinner and you guys still got school stuff to do. And then I think that's the one that I noticed it when I didn't do it for that 1 year and I'd been doing it for 30 years at that point. It's like, whoa. It's like,
nothing truly prepares you for that, that grind.
It's a grind and it's a fun grind. I'm not complaining. I'm going to do it for half of my life if I didn't love it. But you forget it's almost like you get an overdrive. And the problem is, it's like, God, your daughter's got a basketball game on Saturday, but I've got practice from 9 to like the scheduling part is huge. And luckily I was kind of in charge of gyms. So I knew, okay, wait, Drew's playing at 11. Emma's got her 1 o'clock recital. If I go at 8, I can go from 8 to 9:30. Then I can run over and see Drew. I mean, it's a like Google Calendar was the best invention ever for some of those. Like, and Sundays was like, oh, right. Can I find, and there was a couple years when Drew was little, I was coaching his 7th and 8th grade youth team.
I don't know how you did that.
No one else would do it. So I would schedule like, when I would I would go from varsity practice to his practice. I'd go from our varsity practice to his game, or I would find tournaments that were only on Sundays because we don't practice on Sundays. Yeah. It was like, but it's like, whoa, I still don't know. I mean, I'm glad I did, but it's like, whoa. So I think that's one that as a friend, that's what I want to think.
I think it's just like getting back into the routine of everything too. And I think that's where you really want to starting to front load those things like scheduling and all those things now. Don't wait.
Oh, shoot. I already have my buses scheduled. I already have like literally everything I can do for next season's done. Like I already did it. I mean, buses are scheduled. We know when our parent meeting is going to be. I'm still looking for another team for our first scrimmage because I only have one. But other than that, everything is like, that's what I do in the spring. As soon as the season's over and we do our postseason meetings and we do all that, we clean out the blah, blah, blah. Then I take spring break and then I'm boom. All right, let's figure out, do we have the schedule done? Do we know when we want to blah, blah, blah? Like those are the things you definitely want to do. Yeah, I just think it makes it easier for you in a lot of respects. But luckily, so going back to the easier part, so that's personally what I think is going to hit you hard. I think you'll have a little bit of a honeymoon here when school starts back up because you'll have some open gyms and do stuff that you can do. But I think that like that final that grind is going to be like, but I do think it's going to be exponentially easier having gone through it. Like, what's going to happen November 7th or whenever the first day of trials.
Yeah. And, I think it's about where you put your energy and where your thoughts are, right? When you've been through it, what I would say to people that are brand new to coaching, head coaching, is really focus on your kids and what you have, and what you can do with that. Or control the things that you can control and focus on those things as much as you can. Because there's some things as coaches we can't control. But there are a lot of things that you can. So your kids' strengths and those things and focus on those and focus on trying to create things around them and try to not always get so caught up in the noise and all the pretty lights and just focus on what you can do for the kids that are in front of you. You do that, I think you'll be fine.
Right. And you try to be as proactive as you can. You can't maybe Sally twists her ankle. I don't know if any girls are named Sally anymore, but anyway, you can't prepare for that. And she's your leading scorer. You can't prepare for things like that. You can think about them prior to it. But you can prepare for illness. You can prepare for maybe the offense. Like, what if this offense doesn't work? Or what happens? So that's what I try to do in the fall. It's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. What happens if we need to pivot? What happens if this happens? I mean, I always like to have my contingency plans kind of ready.
I was already, and that's funny because I start to think of some of the zone action I might use and stuff. I'm like, okay, so what happens if this team does this here? What am I going to do?
Right.
Or if they attack this part or they screen here. I'm already thinking of that. So you start to think about, and does it fit your group? Does it fit the kids that you're seeing right now?
Yes. Yes. I think you should be like, so this would be for anybody that takes over a job or anybody that's out and then comes back in. I would spend the fall doing scouts on everybody in your league.
Yeah. I have a list of the top scorers. I've watched teams from the year before.
But I would literally get a pad of paper out and I would say, okay, it's September. By the middle of October, I'm going to have watched 2 games of every team in our league. And I'm going to have a piece of paper there, and I'm going to, because, to be honest with you, coaches, you don't change that much. To be honest, you really don't. So let's say we'll take a team from my league. Let's say I took Janesville Craig. Okay. And I just come into this league. I'm going to take 2 games. I'm going to watch Craig. Well, after watching 2 games, I'm going to tell you they're relatively small. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're going to push the ball up. I'm going to be able to tell general stuff. So I will at least have an outline of, okay, here is, even maybe your first opponent. I'd scout the crud out of your first opponent because you might not be able to get any film on them because you might be their first game too. Who's coming back? Who's not coming back?
For the most part, in this day and age of technology and YouTube and all this stuff, there's pretty much accessible for all film. I've been watching a lot of games this summer. I bet you I've watched every team at least once on my schedule already this year. And those are things that I've learned from. Again, those are things you can control.
Do you have Huddle?
I do.
Okay. And do you film the films of the teams in Huddle?
I only use the YouTube videos right now. Most of the schools stream their games live through YouTube TV or YouTube, from YouTube.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if you had those films and then put them into Huddle and then.
I will. I'll get to that point, but there's been so much other access of other ways to watch teams more than ever.
The issue is I try to get some of
flipping. We'll get to that point.
No, I'd get them on Huddle because the YouTube they could turn them off on YouTube.
Yeah.
And if you have them on Huddle, you'll always have them, or you have them on a hard drive.
But I'm just saying in general, I've already been making that, opportunity to start to see some of those things about what teams do and so forth.
I'm excited. This is going to be a great high school hoop season because
I am too.
We're going to dive into Jake this season, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, okay.
What? It's going to be good because you're going to hit some things. We'll have easy number of topics this year, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I said, like you said, that the game is different. But sometimes it's not that different.
We'll is. Kids, and it's all about the relationships. I'm telling you.
We'll talk about that over and over and over again.
It's all about the relationships, people. It's all about the
relationships. But again, I would say more than ever, that excitement is there. I'm excited. I have nothing to complain about. I know I made the right choice. I took the right time off, and now it's about to get back to doing what I love to do. And I'm glad that I got the opportunity to do it again. So I look forward to sharing my insights and supporting other coaches. Because again, in all this honesty, those new coaches, go get yourself a mentor, whether it's Teach Hoops or other people that are involved, because people want to help. People love talking about basketball, especially retired coaches. They're missing it.
They are.
They will. Yeah.
They'll talk your ear off.
Too much sometimes, but they mean well. They're good people.
They do mean well. All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Lowe's knows you take pride in every project. So take on what's next today with a free Select Craftsman hedge trimmer or leaf blower when you buy a 20-volt push mower. That's a $119 value on reliable, high-performance Craftsman tools you trust. For the power to do it all, build, repair, restore, maintain, go with Craftsman. Available at Lowe's. We help. You save. Valid through 5/21 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.